guys, welcome to the O'Handley fighting system. This is my first video in a while, and I'm really excited for it. So I guess let's go. My guest for today is Kyle McGee. He's a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and is an MMA enthusiast. And he's very excited to be on the show. So yeah, let's get started. All right, guys, I'm back with Kyle McGee. Kyle, how you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm all right. All right, let's start off with 175. On the Fight Pass preliminary cards, Kevin Casey, who is married to Muhammad Ali's daughter, won against Bubba Bush by TKO in the first round, 1 minute, 1 second. Any thoughts on that one?
Didn't get to see it. Like little pictures from it. It's pretty impressive. I mean, obviously I haven't heard of Bubba Bush, but just because you haven't heard of someone doesn't mean that them getting finished isn't impressive. So, I mean, Kevin Casey, I remember he kind of struggled on the Ultimate Fighter from what I remember. I think he was the one that actually got taken out on the ambulance, if I'm correct, because he had something wrong with his kidneys or whatever.
Oh wow, I'm not sure. I haven't watched TUF in a while, man.
Yeah, last few seasons, but if I'm correct, he's the one that got they're in a. I think he was on Team Sonnen. Here, hold on, let me see. Yeah, he just returned to the UFC. He was on the Ultimate Fighter. And yeah, he was given a second chance. Lost by TKO because he was unable to. Yeah, he had something. Something went wrong because of the drastic weight cut he had to have for the second fight.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty impressive. I'm glad to see that he came back in good form because he had just been re-signed by the UFC.
Yeah. Well, you know, he was impressive. He looked good. He looked good in that fight, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say. I mean, 1 minute TKO. I do hope to see some more of him. I know the guy's a pretty good jiu-jitsu guy, so I'm hoping to in his next few fights. But it's weird. I'm actually looking at his record right now. He's a jiu-jitsu guy, but a lot of his recent wins have been by TKO or knockout. And all of his submission wins have actually been by rear naked choke. Every single one of them, even his exhibition bouts.
Wow.
That's pretty interesting fact to see.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on. Rob Font versus George Roop.
That was a crazy one. When the fight first started going, I mean, I don't know how I cared for George Roop. I don't really like him. It's not like he's done anything where it's like, oh well, he beat such and such and I'm a really big fan or anything like that. It's just I have never really cared for the guy. But I was kind of like, I don't know who this Rob Font guy is, but when the fight first started, he seemed to be struggling with the distance. So I was like, well, looks like this is just going to be another win for Roop. And when he connected with that, I think it was that right, and Roop went down, it happened so quick I didn't realize what happened. I realized, okay, this guy's because he knocked Roop out like it was nothing.
You've got mail.
Yeah. Sorry if you hear anything. My sister's got this computer riddled with viruses. So I was surprised at how he knocked him out.
Yeah, that's what
it was more like a running kind of. It was weird the way he did it because he kind of ran in and just clipped him, and he kind of ran past him as he did it.
Yeah, and it was weird because it was like the punch. I think the punch would have done it itself, but then the shoulder afterward, I almost think might have kept Roop conscious a little bit. Like I think it might have helped him keep his consciousness because he looked like he was going out from that right hand, and the shoulder hit him and kind of woke him up.
It was impressive as hell because, like you said, he did look like he was having trouble walking up to it or leading up to it, and
Yeah.
you know, it was impressive that he got his right hand there before Roop's left.
Yeah, that was really impressive, especially with the distance, because, I mean, Roop got some reach on him and size on him, so that was really impressive.
For sure. Another fight on the all the fights on that night were impressive, but I'm trying to skim through them. Uriah Faber versus Bruce Leroy.
That was a really good one. I was trying to figure out the entire fight. Dylan Buffington actually sent me a message, and we were both kind of like, I'm not really sure. It was, you know, up until the choke in the third round, we were trying to figure out, is it just that Caceres was looking that good, or was Faber just doing that bad leading up to it? Because, man, Caceres was giving him fits the entire time. So I was kind of like, you know, I don't know if it was that Caceres was doing that good or Faber was doing that bad, but when when it came to the third round, I was realizing, it was just Caceres was doing really good. I was really impressed. I kind of thought leading into the fight, I was like, I'd kind of like to see Caceres win, and that's coming from a Faber fan. I was like, well, I feel like it's just going to be, I figured it was just going to be kind of like the Michael McDonald fight where Faber was just going to tear him apart and finish him within the first or second round, but Bruce Leroy hung in there, man. I mean, he did really good, I thought.
I thought he won the second round. I think
I thought he did too. I think it would have been 29-28, more than likely at least, had it gone to a decision, because I think Faber was probably going to be out for the kill that third round. But there's no way of telling. I mean, it was a minute and 9 seconds into the third round. There's not much to be done. But yeah, Caceres I think did steal that second round. He did very good. His striking looked impressive. I mean, Faber's been outstriking people lately, with the exception of Renan Barão. So I mean that made it even more impressive that Caceres was giving him fits standing.
Also, where do you think that Faber is in the division now? And same with Bruce Leroy. Where do you think both of them are in the division? I mean,
I think Leroy was ranked number 11th. I don't think that should change too much. I mean, he lost to the guy that's ranked number 2 behind, I guess Renan Barão's ranked number 1 right now, behind the champion. So, I mean, he's technically the number 3 guy. I mean, I don't think you can really drop Caceres in the rankings for that. He didn't really, that was win-win for Caceres, because if he loses, oh well, nobody expected him to win anyway, but if he won, that was huge for him. So I think he stays the same, and I mean, honestly, I think the same for Faber. Being the number 11 guy isn't going to move you up too much. So I think they're both kind of in the same spot they were before the fight.
For sure. And what would you think of Cruz versus Faber 3?
I think, honestly, that's the best fight for Cruz to return to. I mean, now that they are, for some reason, giving Renan Barão a rematch with Dillashaw.
Which is ridiculous, but okay.
Yeah, honestly, what I was thinking they should have done, I thought Sun Sal should have gotten the title fight, because he's got the win over Dillashaw, though. I haven't seen it, but I've heard a lot of people saying Dillashaw won. But, I mean, the fact of the matter is he does, on his record, have a win over Dillashaw, and he was going to be the one given the fight with Renan Barão before they gave it to Dillashaw. So, I mean, why not give him a title fight? And then I would have put Renan Barão up against Dominic Cruz, honestly.
Really?
And the reason I say that is I feel like, back when Renan Barão was on his path of destruction, I didn't think it'd be best to just throw Cruz back in with him. Because I was like, well, Barão's looking unstoppable, and who knows if Cruz is going to be the same. And I mean, that's still a possibility that Barão could still beat him, because Cruz might never be the same again. But when you watch the fight with Dillashaw emulated Cruz the entire fight and was able to pick Barão apart. Now, who's to say it wasn't because of that right hand that landed early? Like, maybe if that right hand hadn't landed, everything would have been changed, but there's no way of knowing. So I think that stylistically it'd be intriguing. Like, it would force Barão's going to have to actually start working on fighting a fighter like that. And I just don't see how he earned the rematch. I mean, I got what Dana said, where he said, how can you, dispute after everything this guy did and blah blah blah. But
But what did he do in the UFC?
I mean, yeah, the guy's done a lot. The guy's done a lot. He had a great win streak, but I mean, Junior Dos Santos had a great win streak. Yeah, not at the level of Renan Barros, but Junior Dos Santos had an incredible win streak, and he still had to win a fight to get a rematch with Velasquez. And same thing with Velasquez. Kane was undefeated and got hit with a lunky punch. Why didn't he just get an immediate rematch?
That's what
I
I'm
mean,
saying. And
you can't take past accomplishments as a reason for an immediate rematch. It doesn't work out like that. You
in
have
that
to
case,
actually
Shields
have
should have gotten one, man.
at that rate. Yeah, I mean he he won the last 2 rounds against GSP. Jay Shields did, and very very convincingly won those rounds. I felt like,
Hmm.
and then he didn't get a rematch, but look at what he had done leading into that fight. So I mean, where's the drawing line? I think it's because, I mean, we'll be honest, Dana White is going to give the rematches to the guys that people know the most, that he thinks will earn money, because to him, money here, sport here, in my opinion. Money is like 3,000 steps ahead of what the sport actually means to Dana White at this point.
Well, it sucks because Shields, Fitch, the guys who grind people out are the ones who I enjoy most watching.
Yeah, I mean, I think, um, like, now I will say to an extent, like, they don't do, like, Bruno Santos. I did not care for that fight. And my reasoning for that is, I like guys that grind it out. I don't like guys that literally hold on for a decision. Like with Shields and Fitch and Okami, you're at least getting, those guys are working on the ground. It's not like they're just sitting there. Like Fitch against Eric Silva, ground and pound, submission attempts. I mean, you get the same thing from Okami and
Shields.
Shields, but with Bruno Santos, he was literally just holding on to Kamosi on the ground. So I agree with you. I enjoy the grinders, but I didn't enjoy that. But yeah, I don't like that Dana's just kind of like, as soon as Dana's like rooting for those guys to lose so he can get rid of them.
Um, some sad news happened on the main card. Stephen Struve got
Yeah,
scrapped. Sorry.
it was he fainted backstage due to heart palpitations. That was really sad to hear. I'm really worried about the guy's career. They say he's fine, but I mean, the guy just came back from heart problems and he has heart palpitations backstage. It's not really a good sign.
Well, I seen a tweet from him this morning saying that they're confident that they'll figure it all out and that he'll be back. Um, the UFC took care of him. They paid him his win bonus and his
Yeah,
fight.
I did appreciate. I saw that, and I really appreciate it. I saw they did the same for Matt, and I thought that was very fair that both those guys got paid for showing up, and I like that they both got paid their win bonus. Because I mean, who's to say who would have won?
Yeah, and I was gonna take Struve to become. I've been a huge fan of Struve for a really long time, but it was the fight that I honestly, other than Weidman versus Machida, that was the fight that I was looking forward to most.
Yeah, I mean, like I like Struve and I like Mitrione for biased reasons, obviously. But I mean, that was actually a fight where I was like, I don't know what's going to happen, because if it stays standing, I mean, Struve doesn't use his reach well. You had to give the advantage to Matt. But if it went to the ground, you had to give the advantage to Struve.
Well, what I could see happening in that fight was Mitrione dropping Struve and then Struve getting the submission.
Yeah, I could have seen that, and I also could have seen. My buddy Rob said he felt like Struve was going to pull guard for an armbar. I could have seen Struve, just throughout there. I think takedown wise, I don't think he would have been able to take Mitrione down. I don't think his wrestling helps him. I think really the way Struve benefits is if he can drop people or if he pulls guard. That's how he's able to get people to the ground, from what I've seen.
Well, the long layoff wouldn't have helped them in this fight either.
Oh no.
Mitrione is extremely freaking active.
Oh yeah.
And going up, and that's what I believe. Being active is what helps fighters.
Yes, it does.
Because they never lose the edge, and When was the last time that Alexis Davis fought before Rousey?
The same round, actually. The last Rousey event with McMahon. They actually fought on the same card.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah.
I guess I wasn't really paying attention to that. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Uriah Hall versus Thiago Santos.
You know, I've got to admit, it was a much more patient and relaxed Uriah Hall, which I liked because it was, even though he was being patient, it wasn't like before, like where he just wasn't fighting. It was, he wasn't trying to force the knockout. He was going to let it happen. And I felt like a few times, you know, if he would have been able to pour it on a little more, I felt like he probably could have gotten the knockout. I think it was near the end of round 2 when he started pouring it on. I was like, you know, if he would have thrown a bit more, he might have finished. But at the same time, Thiago Santos kind of showed he was one tough customer. I thought it was a very good fight. I was impressed with both. I was really impressed with Uriah Hall sticking through with that broken toe, because we all know by now his corner was lying about it being that way before the fight. They were just trying their ass off because they knew the doctor was going to stop it. But I thought it was very impressive when he started. It was at the end of the. It was in between the first and second round. He started like hopping up and down and stuff. I was like, this guy is crazy. Then he started throwing spinning back kicks and roundhouse kicks with that leg. I was like, okay, this dude has got heart and he's tough. I'm really impressed with him. More of him. Hopefully next time he'll be able to remain healthy so we can get him at his full potential.
Well, here's a question about it. Who do you think had the worst broken toe, Uriah Hall or John Jones?
I've got to say John Jones, because John Jones actually had blood coming out.
Yeah, well, wasn't there blood coming out of Uriah Hall?
No, they thought that the bone was sticking out, but there was no blood.
Oh, okay. Well, I was impressed with Uriah Hall's toughness, but I didn't think he won the fight 30-27 as one
I didn't know. I agree with that. I think that Santos won the first round.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, other than that, yeah, I mean, that was... But the judges, you know, they make weird calls all the time.
You know, but what I was happy about was at least 2 judges got it right.
Yeah, exactly.
It
I
doesn't
agree.
matter as long as he won, I guess. Like, the result wouldn't change. It's just, if somebody's looking at the results like we are right now, they see 29-28, it's a lot closer than 30-27.
Yeah, and that fight was a very close fight. Because, yeah, I think the common misconception is that 30-27 means it was a one-sided fight, but really 30-27s can be some of the closest fights ever. It's just that one guy did enough to edge out each round.
Yeah. One thing that I think, one thing that I would criticize Thiago Santos for is he should have been spamming those leg kicks.
Yeah, I didn't understand why he stopped. Like after midway through the second round, he just kind of stopped throwing them.
It was weird the way that he would stop though, because he was having big success with them.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt with Hall's toe like that, if he would have kept on kicking his leg, he could have took that third.
Yeah, it would have been interesting if he would have done that, but you know, hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah, really. So nothing really to say about the Rousey fight. She dominated.
I mean, what I'd have to say is that it's got the record for second shortest title fight in UFC history. Honestly, I think if Eve Levine would have been at a better angle before the throw, I think that probably would have been the fastest in UFC history. Because honestly, you almost could have stopped that, no controversy involved, after the throw. Because I felt like Davis was pretty much out after the throw.
I agree, and I was watching that fight very closely, and at first I thought it was an early stoppage because Eve Levine was in the way of the camera when her arm went limp.
Yeah, I saw the arm go limp before he even stopped it, and I was like, okay, please stop that.
Yeah, no, I didn't notice it, and then I noticed her trying to wrestle her. So, but she looked into it, but then she started wrestling Eve Levine. I'm like, oh, okay, I understand
And she was wrestling the ref way longer than I've ever seen anyone do it.
Hey, at least she could have wrestled someone.
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, she has some scary kind of skills now, and if they don't get Cyborg or Holly Holm to get in here,
Yeah, it's
the thing with Holly Holm though is I haven't seen her ground game.
yeah.
You know,
I agree about
the
that.
stand up would be a great fight. That would be the best women's fight I could possibly see. But
Yeah, but
you know, we
if
haven't seen
Rousey
her
takes her
ground.
down, it's a pretty short night if he gets her to which she probably would. Honestly, I kind of want to see um, her and Kat Zingano finally. I think make Kat a tune-up fight, but I would like to see it.
Well, I mean, if they put Kat versus Misha too, I think that would be an extremely easy fight for Misha to win, or not Misha, Zagano, because I don't know, it's just something about Zagano that I think that she would be able to, you know, submit Tate this time around.
I mean, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, you know, besides those two, though, there's really not many options right now.
Okay, so let's move to the main event.
All right.
Weidman versus Machida. Weidman, in my mind, wins 4 out of the 5 rounds.
I agree too. I feel like, you know, the third round could have gone either way had it not. Actually, I think before the takedown, the third round was for Machida, but that takedown really cost him. Um, I think, like, you know, there's a lot of people were talking about how dominant Weidman was. I think people, like, were thinking he was a lot more dominant than he was. He was controlling the fight, but I don't think he truly dominated like people thought he did.
Was
Don't get me
that
wrong, he won the fight 4 rounds to 1, but
was
I
that
don't think I think people misinterpreted what was happening. It was just he was keeping the pressure on Machida. He didn't truly dominate. He was good though, definitely.
well, like you were saying, man? 10-9 can always mean that the fight is close, and that's a perfect example of it.
Yeah,
You know, Machida was landing good shots, backing up, but you can't do that in a title fight because it's automatically going to go to the champion.
yeah, and I think I will say we were talking about like I saw somebody actually say, well, Weidman figured out how to beat Machida and all this and that. I was like, no, if you really watch those first 3 rounds, he emulated Shogun.
Mm-hmm.
He fought like Shogun did. He was the aggressor. He kept moving forward the entire time, no matter what Machida did, and he threw body kicks and leg kicks. He was emulating Shogun to a T.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's smart. He used the right strategy. I'm saying he dominated. I say that, but he definitely won. I thought that was honestly people can talk about the Silva fights, but actually, I thought that was Weidman's most impressive showing.
Agreed.
Um, because I mean, you know, the first fight, like the knockout on Silva, like Silva just didn't even care about the fight, and then the second one, I mean, Weidman was doing good, but I mean, a leg broke. Who's to know what could have happened? I mean, for all we know, Silva could have knocked him out.
Yeah, following the leg
So
kick and everything. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, the way he fought Machida, like perfect strategy, and just yeah, he did everything perfect. I thought Machida was really impressive too because Machida was getting tagged over and over, and I've seen all these people leading up to the fight saying he has a weak chin and this and that, and I'd never bought it, but I was really hoping he could prove otherwise, and he did because, I mean, Weidman was drilling him with shots, and Machida just kind of stood there.
The first 3 rounds were really interesting. The fourth was Machida's round for sure. Who
Oh
do
yeah,
you think, in your opinion, won the fifth?
I definitely think, like I told you earlier, Weidman won. Had it not been for that takedown, Machida would have won. It would have been 3-2. But I also say somebody scored the last round for Machida, I wouldn't say they were an idiot or anything like that. I mean, like I said, that round really could have gone either way.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very, very good competitive round. And I mean, even with that takedown, Machida had done a lot more standing, so it's one of those where, how do you score it?
Who do you think Machida's going to fight next?
Let's see here. I'm gonna get on UFC.com, as dumb as that is, and I'm gonna look at the rankings they have for middleweight, and I'll give my opinion on that.
Call me crazy, but I would say Francis Carmon.
That would be an interesting one. Like I said, I'm gonna look on there. Let me check and see. If it'll load. I saw somebody said Tim Kennedy. I'm not looking at the list. That's actually who I'd say. I'd say Tim Kennedy or even Luke Rockhold. One of those two. I think one of those two is who I'd throw him up against.
Actually, those would be all pretty interesting fights.
Yeah, I mean, Francis Carmon would be interesting.
I would like to see Machida versus Vitor, but everyone's so dead set on Vitor fighting Weidman.
Yeah, I saw somebody say this online. I actually agree. They should give Vitor one fight without the testosterone replacement therapy. See how his body handles it before they just give him a title fight.
Well, I mean, I don't care either way. I lost a lot of respect for Vitor.
Yeah.
When he started doing TRT and he thanked God for his wins.
Yeah, it was kind of like, well, dude, thank God that TRT isn't illegal.
Yeah, really. And he would always dodge questions about it, right? If you're gonna use it, answer the fucking people's questions.
Yeah, he was like he would like answer the question, but he would just speak in such weird, vague terms. You were just like, I guess he's on it because he's trying to avoid talking about it, but I don't know.
Yeah. So, and then Weidman is supposed to be fighting Vitor next. Who do you got in that one?
There's no TRT involved. I got Weidman.
I got Weidman TRT or not, honestly. Weidman's been impressing me since the Maya fight. He's just kept on, impressing me again and again and again.
Well, I mean, Vitor Belfort on TRT is like almost godlike in the cage. So I mean, it's one of those where Weidman could do it, but Vitor is scary on that TRT, and that's why I'm kind of glad he's not on it, because I feel like all those wins were kind of cheap.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people were talking about how, Dan Henderson was on it too, but he really wasn't.
And he wasn't abusing it, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, Vitor abused it, and he would cycle. Like, Vitor cycled it. He would use it very heavily when like they weren't testing him, but when they were about to test him, he'd tone it down. And I think that's why he got busted in that random drug test, is because he wasn't expecting it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so on to the preliminary card of Ultimate Fighter finale. Well, not the preliminary card. Well, Kevin Lee was impressive on that one.
Yeah, I heard about the Drysdale fight where he tore the guy's ACL when they fell down from the rear naked choke, which was kind of sad to hear. But I mean, I'm glad Drysdale finally made his debut.
Another good guy, another good fight, I should say, was Leonardo Issa versus Fuchson. It was on the preliminary card in bantamweight.
Yeah.
Issa got a point taken away in round 2. He lost the first round, so he was down on 3 points. There was no way he was winning this fight, right?
Oh, yeah, I think I heard about this one.
Third round comes, he armbars the guy, and I was so impressed. I was like,
yeah, I heard that.
Shit.
And if I'm correct, I think that got fight of the night, actually.
Did it?
I can't remember.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, it did. It did. And he also got performance of the night.
It was mad impressive, man. Like, that's how you're supposed to fight come the third round if you're if you're down on points.
Yeah, I agree.
You're going
like I said, I sadly didn't see any of the fights other than Edgar and BJ Penn, which as a BJ Penn fan, I say I sadly saw that one because that one was tough to watch.
Well, let's just take a thing. Derek Lewis was impressive. I know you didn't watch it, but he was mad
Well,
impressive.
I have heard about that one, and I heard the guy was just scary.
He was slow. If he can work on his speed, he's gonna be a force at the heavyweight division. I thought that a guy like Cain Velasquez or Junior Dos Santos would just pick him apart. They wouldn't even have to finish him. They could do it for 5 full rounds.
Yeah.
Um, but congratulations to Eddie Gordon and Corey Anderson.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, on their tough wins. Uh, congratulations because they have to be away from their family for 6 weeks. They trained their
Oh,
asses off. So
they there was a lot on that show.
and congratulations, just straight up congratulations to those guys. And let's just talk about the main event, man. And I nearly turned off my TV, honestly.
Yeah. It hurts saying this, but BJ Penn put up the worst performance I've ever seen any fighter put up.
The fuck
I
was
don't know
up
if it
with
was
his
weight cut
stance?
or what.
No, it was his stance, man. It was driving me fucking crazy.
And did you watch the post fight show at all?
No. I went to bed, man. Honestly, I felt so depressed because BJ was one of those guys who I always looked up to. He's one of the reasons why I wanted to get into mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
And into Brazilian Jiu Jitsu in general. He's the guy who makes me want to train Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and then he put on a performance like that. But go on with what was the post fight?
His corner actually came up with that strategy. They told him.
Oh yeah, the most power, the more
Yeah.
power. Jason Perulo, I don't know what his name is. I think Perulo.
Jason Perillo.
I want to fucking fight that guy, and I want him to fight in that stance, and I want him to see what he does.
I've never seen a guy that he trains stand up wise do very good.
He was Tito Ortiz's, wasn't he? A couple years ago.
Yeah, Tito wasn't that great.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't get it. Standing up like that, you don't get more power. You power from sitting down on your punch. So I don't see what they were talking about and why they told him that. Because I still don't think that BJ was going to win that fight. I think that the weight cut and his age did a lot on him. That stance just did him in completely. One thing I noticed, Frankie Edgar honestly could have just pushed him and he would have gotten a takedown.
And I agree with Kenny Florian that the point was to try to get taken down. I think that might have been.
Yeah, I think so too.
But what kind of an idiot wouldn't tell BJ Penn just to go? He knew that this was his last fight. He even said it.
Yeah.
Or pre-fight. Then why
Yeah,
the
even
hell
if he won.
wouldn't he have fought?
Mm-hmm.
Swung for the freaking fences, dude.
Yeah, dude, you got to go out there and, make your last fight memorable. Like I said, I still think Edgar would have probably outstruck him and won the fight, but seeing BJ go out like that was sad. I'm glad that he can he's finally actually admitting to himself, it's over. I was nice seeing him going out humble. It was bittersweet, though, because, like you said, BJ is one of the reasons pretty much anybody our age or just a little bit older wants to get into MMA. He's pretty much half the reason any of the lightweights want to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't go out the way BJ Penn should. I think it's interesting. Let me look at his record real quick. Aside from the corner stoppage where he just said he was done against GSP, if I'm correct, let's look at his losses. TKO corner stoppage. Okay, so he's only been finished one other time in his career besides that, and it was against Matt Hughes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But, for a 145er to finish BJ Penn off, that was pretty impressive, I thought.
Especially when GSP, he did finish him, but it wasn't GSP who finished him,
No, it was BJ Penn's mind, honestly. BJ Penn, I think BJ Penn's worst opponent throughout his entire career has been himself. Because looking at his losses, I think he could have easily won the original GSP fight and the first GSP fight and the Hughes fight that he lost. I don't think he was going to beat Machida back when they fought. Come on. Let's see. Look at his other losses. The GSP won the corner stoppage. Was he going to lose that fight? Yeah, I don't think there was any stopping it, but I mean, he could have at least gone to a decision, I think. The Edgar fights. I actually still to this day think he beat himself in the Edgar fights.
Okay, I'm one of those crazy fans who think that he won the first fight.
I
Maybe that was
think
my
so.
BJ Penn vibe. I haven't watched it since the first time I watched it live.
I think he won it too. He lost the second fight definitively, and I think he kind of beat himself in that one. Now, a lot of people call me crazy for this one. I think he beat himself in the Diaz fight.
Well, I mean, I thought he won the first.
He did, and I think that he, I mean, a lot of people can credit Diaz for this because I think Diaz got in his head, but at the same time, I think BJ beat himself because he let himself go into Diaz's game.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's really, when you look at Nick Diaz's wins, not taking any credit away from him at all, I'm not saying he's not a great fighter, but really when you look at his wins, I mean, most of those guys have beaten themselves.
It's true.
Paul Daly beat himself against Diaz. I mean, a lot of these guys, they beat themselves against him.
Mm-hmm. And it's because of his style, man.
Yeah.
He makes you into a bar brawl for some reason, and everyone just follows suit. The only person or two people who I guess who didn't were GSP and Condit.
Yeah. And despite all the controversy, I scored it for Condit every single time I've watched it.
While I watched it the first time, I thought that Diaz won. I see how Condit could win with the strikes that he landed.
Yeah.
I was judging it based on aggression in that fight.
Yeah. What made me say that Condit won was what pretty much the judges said. I think that Diaz beat himself in that one because he kept worrying about taunting. And, I mean, yeah, you know, it looks cool when you're taunting the guy, but when you're taunting the guy and he's throwing leg kicks, I mean, he's scoring points and you're not. And that's what I think he cost himself because he was too busy taunting in that fight.
Well, I mean, the one fight that's rumored that I'm scared for Diaz is the Anderson fight.
Anderson. I actually kind of want to see that. I think that'd be great.
It'd be a great return fight for Anderson because he doesn't have to worry about his leg.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a good feeling out process to see if this is the end of Anderson Silva or if he can keep on doing this.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think it'd be a great fight to watch Diaz in because it's like, you know, I joked. I said they should put that fight together. There'd be 5 rounds of taunting. I mean, it would be 5 rounds of 2 guys taunting each other. I think it'd be hilarious. Because, I mean, we know, you know, Anderson loves taunting his guys to get in their head, and then Diaz does the same. And I think it'd be one of those where, you know, who's going to fall for the mind games. And I honestly, I kind of think Diaz would fall for the mind games.
Yeah, I think he would just keep on rushing in and get tagged.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, have you seen those photos of GSP and Anderson in the gi and everything?
No.
Oh, they had a photo session with them.
Huh.
Right, and it was pretty cool actually. And the size difference between George St. Pierre and Anderson Silva makes you realize why they never fought.
Is Anderson that much bigger than him?
He looks he looks taller and but GSP looks thicker kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, it's one of those where I mean, I swear like when you see their body sizes, you'd honestly think, you know, even with height, you'd probably think GSP's the heavier guy sometimes, but I don't know. Anderson's body frame is weird because he doesn't look like he'd weigh over 200 pounds, even with his height.
How much does he cut from? Like 230, doesn't he? That's the last time I heard him walking.
Last time I heard, he was cutting from 199.
No way.
Yeah, I heard he's lost a lot of weight, actually.
Holy crap.
Yeah, like, I think at his heaviest, he was cutting from 215.
Well, I mean, I remember once he was like 220, 230 though, and somebody like it was on SureDog that I read it though, so it might not have been true.
Yeah, that's always iffy on whether or not it's true.
Um, what's it called? But GSP's weighing around 200 now.
Yeah, I did see that.
So what would you think of them fighting now?
I don't know. Personally, I always love watching him fight. I kind of hope he just stays retired and enjoys it. I mean, that guy did so much, and like he said he's like all the like the risk of brain trauma he seemed to have, like when he was telling Joe Rogan about the alien abductions that he thinks he's had happen to him and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, that just kind of worries me because I'd hate for that guy to be, you know, like kind of like Muhammad Ali is now, where he's like he shakes all the time because he got hit so much. And I mean, the majority of the significant strikes GSP's taken in his career, he took in his last 3 fights, which when you look at them, Condit, Diaz, and Hendricks, all 3 of those guys hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's fought for a long time. So I think he should enjoy his retirement. And easy. If they fought, I really don't know. Even to this day, I do not know what would happen because, I mean, Anderson, yeah, he's had questionable takedown defense sometimes, but when you look at his takedown defense percentage, it's actually kind of high.
Mm-hmm.
So, with Anderson being as tall as he is, I mean, stand-up wise, I love George, but stand-up wise, he wouldn't hold a candle to Anderson, so he'd have to go to the ground. And on the ground, Anderson's dangerous. So it'd be interesting. I like I said, I really don't know. I think either Anderson would finish it or GSP would have to grind out a decision.
Call me crazy, man, but I could see GSP pulling out a slick submission.
I don't know, man. I mean, he possibly could. I mean, there's no way of telling. But
or a TKO. You know what? That's what makes that fight so amazing. Is that either guy could win a decision, a submission, or a TKO. You know.
Oh, yeah.
He's
yeah, it would be interesting.
Well, but that's the fight that I want to see if Anderson comes back, because especially if GSP's good. I don't want to see GSP fight for a title. Okay, he's already won the welterweight, and what's he gonna do if he wins it? Everyone knows he's just gonna retire in 2 or 3 fights.
Yeah.
So what's the point of winning the welterweight title back just to vacant it again? You know what I mean? It's a bitch.
Yeah, it is.
Like he's already screwed up because now, in my opinion, Johnny Hendricks isn't the champion.
See, I mean, you and I have 2 varied opinions because I did feel like Hendricks won the fight with GSP. I thought it was very close, but I did feel like he won. I mean, I think, if a guy vacates the title, I think a lot of people are going to feel that way, but at the same time, I mean, the guy stepped away from the sport. I think you do have to consider the guy who won it the real champ, just simply because, the other guy said he was done, so...
Well, that's the thing. I need to see Hendricks defend it.
I would like to see him defend it, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I have to see how he defends it. I have to see how hungry people are to go after that title. I need to see meaning in that one. You know what I mean? GSP made that title mean everything.
Yeah, I agree. I thought Lawler did really good. I think if Lawler would have had a little more energy, he'd be the champion right now. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's it. I think Lawler and Hendricks are definitely the 2 top guys in the division, without a doubt, in my opinion, actually.
Honestly, I can see Rory getting up there too.
Oh, Rory's definitely going to get up there. I mean, the guy's great. He's always been great. I think he needed to stop. He needs to stop, and he has to stop coasting, because he'd get too comfortable. And I mean, you saw it in the in the Ellenberger fight, he was so coasting, it was honestly sad. And then in the Lawler fight, he got his ass kicked because of it. So I mean, he does need to be more aggressive, and he has been recently. He's gotten back to his old self, so I could easily see him a top guy. Like that's another reason why I feel like GSP should probably stay retired. Is the welterweight division has become incredible again. There's no, well, this guy's just gonna get a title fight, but he's just gonna lose, and then it'll be on to the next guy, and that's kind of my problem. Like that's kind of why, like, as much as I love Anderson and hated him losing the belt, it's almost better with a new champion because, you know, there is that chance of what if somebody can beat Whiteman. I don't know if anybody can, honestly, but there still is that factor if somebody could. Whereas with Anderson and GSP for the longest time, it was like, well, these guys aren't getting beat.
Yeah, and it kind of loses the novelty of anyone fighting for the belt.
Yeah, exactly. Like, people are just tuning in to see them lose, really. I mean, that's kind of sad.
What's it called? With the welterweight picture the way it is now, who do you want to see get the next shot? Do you want it to be the winner of Lawler Brown, Don
Yes.
and oh really, eh?
Yeah, actually I do. I think, you know, like I said, Lawler could easily get a rematch for what happened in the fight with Hendricks. And Matt Brown's beaten anybody and everybody. I think if he, I mean, yeah, they haven't been all like top 5, but I mean, if he beats Robbie Lawler, is there any disputing this guy deserves a title shot?
There's none, but the thing is, people are calling for Rory to get it.
Yeah, I mean,
But then if GSP's coming back, that makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one because, I mean, you could give the fight to Rory, but I don't know. It'd be a little more than the others because, you know, here's the way that I view it. Yes, Robbie's already had his title fight, but Robbie Lawler beat Rory McDonald. So if Robbie Lawler, and Robbie almost beat the current champion Hendricks.
Mm-hmm.
So if Robbie Lawler beats Matt Brown, how do you put, you'd either have to throw those two together or you'd have to give Robbie Lawler the title fight.
For sure. And I don't want to see Rory versus Robbie 2 yet.
No, I agree. I think either Robbie needs to be champion, Rory needs to be champion, or it needs to be a little down the road. I mean, I don't like rematches 1 year after the fact because I feel like Robbie would probably win that fight again. I know a lot of people disagree, but I do feel like he would. I think that he's getting better and better each day. I mean, it's really scary. Robbie's the exact opposite of most guys. I mean, this guy's heading towards the end of his prime. He's almost kind of like, you know, Anderson and Couture were in that factor where they're getting better to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's great because nobody expected Robbie to be where he was, and I was rooting for Hendricks to win the belt. And when that fight got to the third round, before Lawler even started dominating, I was like, you know what? Damn it. Come on, Lawler, do this. Because it was one of those where, you know, you were supposed to do this, do it.
Uh-huh.
So I was kind of hoping to see him do it, and I think it'd be great to see him do it. And I think he has it in him because, like I said, he's getting better and better.
And he's fighting extremely active. So he might have 2 or 3 years only left in him. But in those 2 or 3 years, he's going to get 3 to 4 fights a year. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So if he keeps on at this rate, he's gonna fight a lot.
Oh, yeah, he definitely will. I'm about to have to get off here, so I did want to wrap. I did have something I wanted to mention before we wrap things up.
Okay.
They're fumbling all over themselves to try and find the UFC 176 main event, right?
Yeah.
Here's what I say. Get Frankie Edgar's how long he's out. If he's not out long, which I don't think he will be, put him versus Mendez in the main event.
Interim title or just
number one contenders? I'd say just a title eliminator fight. I don't know about doing a interim title. I've never been a huge fan of the interim title. I think one time it worked, honestly, and obviously this is very obvious, was Renan Barão having one because, you know, Cruz was out for 2 years. That time it made sense, but I'd hold off on that unless we know this guy's going to be out for a while because I think that, you know, Aldo will be back soon, so I don't think there's any need for that. Now, if he had like 3 different injuries going at once, like if he was at like the injury length that Juliana Pena is at, which is very sad, then I'd say, yeah, interim title. But I'd say just give it a title eliminator fight, Edgar and Mendez, and let's finally see the fight everybody's been clamoring for.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you know what? I never even thought of that, but that's a great idea. I'm gonna let you go then. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, and hopefully we can get you back on here soon.
All right, that's it, man.
All right, thanks.
No problem.
All right,
See you.
later.